Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some NBA with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. What's going on, guys? Now, it's been a minute since I made really any videos kind of like this, but good to be back. Been a long week, but Brooklyn Nets, they're making some moves. They had to make some moves because they had to get to that cap floor, and they got to fill out that roster. And they made an interesting move, probably one of the more interesting moves made in free agency so far. They took a flyer. A team like them, they don't have control of a first round draft pick till 2019, so they took a flyer, as teams like them do. If you don't have picks for the next first round picks for the next couple of years and you're one of those teams that's stuck at the bottom, you need to take flyers on guys that you normally wouldn't sign to your team. And it has been reported by ESPN.com and many news outlets out there that the Brooklyn Nets have signed former first overall pick, number one pick in the draft, Anthony Bennett, to a 2-year contract worth the veteran's minimum. Now, Anthony Bennett, what can we say about him? He's a guy that was drafted number one overall by the Cavs, didn't fit there. Same thing, was a throw-in in the Andrew Wiggins trade, didn't work out in Minnesota, and then went back to his hometown in Toronto and didn't work out there either. He has had some injury problems, but he's also just been very underwhelming, and even when he was healthy, he hasn't been able to really produce much. Averaging around 4.2 points per game, something like that. Dude's just been a non-factor, and which is very disappointing because for those of you who've been following this man's career before he got to the NBA, Anthony Bennett at UNLV looked like he could be, this modern day version, of Larry Johnson. I don't want to give him too much high praise, but a lot of people are comparing the guy to Larry Johnson. I thought it was a little bit too much. A little too early. The guy had only played 1 year of competitive college basketball, and I knew he wasn't ready. I knew he wasn't ready for the league, but I figured, hey, he's gonna come to the league. The learning curve will be sharp, and he'll find his way. But he really hasn't found his way. And here he comes to the Brooklyn Nets at 23 years old, already three different NBA teams. Not any hype around him. Really, nobody's talking about the signing too much right now. For the Nets, though, I like the move. I like the move for them because they are a team, like I said. They don't have any assets. They don't have any draft picks because, what's his name? Billy King or Brian King, whatever the general manager's name is, King. He decided to trade all those picks away for, aging Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, and add that to Joe Johnson and Darren Williams, thinking that they had a champion, that would have made the Brooklyn Nets a championship team, and I knew it wasn't going to, and they sacrificed the future. So this is why when you're an NBA general manager, you don't make hasty decisions like this, because it will hinder your franchise for years to come. With all being said, though, the Brooklyn Nets depth chart, the way it looks right now, excluding the moves, ESPN Brooklyn Nets depth chart as I'm looking at it right now. At point guard, you have Jeremy Lin, solid point guard. Jeremy Lin can create for others, so that's always good. Their most stacked position on their team right now is definitely shooting guard. They have Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, who's pretty good, Sean Kilpatrick, who I like, and Isaiah Whitehead, who I also talked a lot about, and I believe they just added Randy Foye. So we're talking about four deep at the shooting guard position. At small forward, you have Bojan Bogdanovic, how you say his name. He's really good. I like him too. Trevor Booker, solid veteran. He'll be the starter at power forward. Chris McCullough backs him up as the younger guy. And then at center, you have Brook Lopez. So really, they're thin at pretty much every position with the exception of shooting guard. So Bennett, you probably think, looking at their depth chart, slides in either at the 3 or the 4. So he probably becomes the backup to Bogdanovic. But it isn't a bad thing. Bennett could back him up and potentially, maybe even get the starting job. Bogdanovic has played really well last year, and I believe he had like a 40-point game or something like that. So maybe down the road he becomes a trade chip for the Nets. They can possibly use to acquire other assets. Who knows what the Nets do with all these guys in the roster? But right now, the way it looks is that he'll be filling in as a backup. But you never know. The NBA is a crazy game. All it takes is an injury, a guy getting traded. You never know. But they're taking a flyer on him. He's only 23 years old, so maybe he had a little bit of growing up to do. He didn't take the grind as seriously, and maybe he'll use what happened in his stops in Minnesota and Toronto and Cleveland as fuel to his motivation. I like Anthony Bennett. I thought he could play coming out of college. I was actually very disappointed with him. I don't feel too bad about him being Yeah, he's probably gonna go, if he never pans out, he'll probably go down as the biggest bust of all time. But really, if you go look at that draft, there was no consensus number one. Teams just kind of had to guess because that was a draft where we had him, Ben McLemore, I believe Cody Zeller, Victor Oladipo might have even been drafted right after him. So not a whole lot of great talent there at the top. Guys who are solid players that could be good rotational players, but no transcendent superstars, nothing like that. So yeah, that draft was really thin. But the Brooklyn Nets, I have no problem with it. If he doesn't work out, then they get rid of him and they move on from there. But it's worth taking a flyer on the guy. He's only 23 years old, and if he does pan out, you're looking at a very skillful player that could help your team moving forward. So why not take a chance at Anthony Bennett? But let me know what you guys think. The Brooklyn Nets sign Anthony Bennett to a 2-year contract worth the veterans minimum. What do you think about this, and do you think Anthony Bennett can get his career on track in the NBA? Leave your comments down below. Take the time to subscribe, and you could love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dania. So until next time, take care, guys.